I'm gonna share the agenda, which y'all got a little bit earlier from me. And just want to thank folks for being here and for taking y'all time today to meet with us and chat about BRB issues. Um, I'm going to turn it over to Allison Singh, who is the chair of the Education Committee. I think he's going to say a few words of hello. But what I will add for today is I'm going to do our best to get us in and out on time. So from 1 to 2. And also remind folks this is our very first go round with this. So bear with us. I'm sure we'll learn a lot. But just want to say how much I appreciate folks for being here. And Allison, I think I will turn it over to you.
Shelby, thank you. My name's Allison Singh. I'm with the Snohomish County Boundary Board. I currently chair the Association Education Committee. My colleague Dave Helmuth is my vice chair. And we want to welcome all of you in participating in our first mini Zoom session. The only comment I had, because since we have a written agenda, is that the focus of the training committee uh, is to provide training, answer the training needs of our members and our clerks. And so the disclaimer I have is that we don't provide legal advice and we don't discuss items that are on your boundary board agenda that you're facing. That's something between you and your attorney and your clerk. And that's where we kind of leave it. So if you have legal questions in a generic sense, we might address those. But generally, that's the only disclaimer. And I'm going to turn the agenda back over to Shelby and Sonia and on our board because what we're going to talk about the rules and practice, and they put together a nice slide presentation.
And I'd like to add one thing. From being the vice chair, Allison and I are more than willing to put stuff together, but we really need input from the board members and the clerks as to what we need training for. So hopefully we can come out of this. And so this is a new concept instead of just doing it once a year at the annual meeting. This was Allison's concept to have these mini sessions during the year. So hopefully we can continue to share vital information.
Shelby, would you there's a shot of the BOCC group. I don't know which county that is and who they represent. If you could have them introduce themselves.
That would be our friend from Grape Harbor County.
Oh, Grace Harder. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I can't get the name to change on this end, but we're using the commuter conference room, so it just tells you what we use it for.
Well, that's good. I mean, I like. Well, Dave and I suggested that we do these in-session things with the clerk, primarily because during the breaks we can ask other questions or focus on the issues that we can talk about. So I'm hoping that I know it's convenient for people to participate from their home, and that's good. But the idea is to gel the group as a working group and attack the same issues together in your county. Thank you again.
Thanks, Allison. Again, I just want to welcome everybody. I'm so glad each and every one of you are here today. Thank you for participating in our group. I'm going to do a quick little reminder that we're not here to specifically talk about board business from any particular board today. We want to be mindful that the Open Public Meetings Act does not allow us to do that. So we are going to be talking generally today. We're going to be talking from the eye, from our experiences, and we will not be discussing any in the weeds business of any particular boundary review board. And now I am going to bring up our first presentation. And we do have some presented materials, but I also want to say this is meant to be um, a communicative experience. So, folks, we do want to have discussion. We unfortunately, with a 1 hour time limit, I don't think we have time to go around and chat with each and every person. But again, this is our first time around the sun of this experience, and I'm sure we'll have lots of lessons learned for next time. So I'm going to start our first session of content, which is on board rules of practice and procedure. And I hope everybody can see the screen. Okay, great. And I'm gonna juggling a bunch of screens here myself, and I wish I just had maybe one more, but we will make it work. So this is going to be presented by me and Sonia Krasky, who is the wonderful clerk of the Snohomish County Boundary Review Board. And Sonia is going to start us off.
Right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. So Shelby and I have put together just this brief presentation, and as she stated, this isn't specific to any one county, but really, we hope will be helpful to all of you. So regarding the board rules of practice and procedure, first of all, we just wanted to point out the necessity of these rules. It's legally required by statute that each review board adopt rules governing both their formal and informal procedures. And the reason for them is really transparency for ourselves, for our customers, clarity so that it's very clear what we're doing. And really, our rules should be relevant. So, there should be clear rules for conducting board business, such as meetings, how the officers of each board are chosen, how their meetings are conducted, and to provide content within the rules that provides clarity and relevancy for our customers and staff. If you are a board member and you're not familiar with your rules, we would just encourage you to reach out to your clerk and ask about those. And again, remember that each board's rules may look different because they're tailored to your specific county and what your needs are.
Thanks, Sonia. I would also add that in addition to board rules, King County also has standard operating procedures, and I'll show you that. So they live on our website, and we have them in our frequently requested documents section. And we have a variety of frequently requested documents, but we keep them in a section called board policies. And we have our board rules, which we call our organization and rules of practice and procedure, which we last updated in November 2023. But addition to those rules, we have some standard operating procedures, and those are also voted on by our board, and they are more ways that we go about things in our office that we want to make them easier to change than our ORPP, that just reflect sort of a standard work of how we do things with our board and our office. And one of the examples is our standard operating procedure regarding waivers per RCW 3693110. These are waivers that boards can issue or board chairs can issue if you're dealing with a annexation that is less than 10 acres and also less than $2 million in assessed value. And we as a board wanted to go formalize the process of how our board chair would evaluate those potential waivers. So we drafted up the standard operating procedure. Again, it's not part of our ORPP, so it's a little bit easier to change if we need to, but it's basically just the steps we will take in our process. It does reference the policy framework of both the RCW that gives the board the power to do something like this, as well as our board rules or ORPP that again reflect how we have the power to do this. But these are just our step-by-step procedures as to how the clerk will intake the file, how they'll send it to the board chair, and then we also have our template which we adopted, and this is what the board chair would sign if they wanted to issue such a waiver under RCW 3693110. Go to our next slide.
So I know within during the time that I've been here as the BRB clerk, I've had other county departments comment to me that, well, the board guidelines say, but I've reminded them, I just gently say, oh, do you mean our board rules? And there's actually case law from our state Supreme Court that indicates our board rules are enforceable. They're not guidelines, they're not suggestions, they actually uh, are requirements. So I Shelby, I know, shared this PowerPoint with all of you, and I won't go through and read all of it to you. But basically, I just wanted to point out a couple of highlights of that ruling. And it's that the board has rulemaking authority under the statute, and the board is allowed to exercise that and set clear requirements.
And whenever the legislature gives different bodies rulemaking authority, it usually gives very clear guidelines as to how those rules can be established. And that is what we're going to talk about.
So we put together kind of just a standard outline for some steps for updating rules. So obviously, the first biggest thing is to work with your board chair and others. It's helpful to look at board rules at other counties, see what they're doing. Sometimes you may not want to do it exactly like another county has, but it may give you an idea. And even looking at actual Superior Court rules for other counties may give you some ideas as well. The courts are very good at writing rules. And so those are often a good example to look at. A rules committee. I mean, you may or may not want to establish a rules committee. Here in Snohomish County, we did establish one, although I have to say that my board actually gave me a lot of leeway in working on a rules update. So the other thing is ensure you're being really transparent. So in Snohomish County, when we updated our rules, we used the track changes function within Word so that people could see exactly what was being uh, changed, so they could easily follow that. Um, I also posted and shared a quote clean version that had the rules updates in them, but just to make it for easy reading. But I always ensured that what we had available on our website and sent out to others had both versions so people could clearly follow along. And in Snohomish County, when we worked on our rule updates, really our goal was to make sure that they would fill the gap between what the statute already clearly outlines and what our actual processes were. Um, our previous version of the rules had, addressed topics in multiple places. And so, again, our goal was just to more clearly organize our rules by topic and consolidate information so there wasn't duplication. And by eliminating duplication, I think it also lessens any confusion on topics. If people see a topic addressed one place and then 5 pages later see it addressed again, they're having to flip back and forth. And we really wanted to make it easier for not only us, but also our customers. We also, within our rules, took the opportunity to provide clear information for our customers. So, for example, our rules define that the close of business is the closing time of our office is posted on our website. And by not including a specific time within our web or within our rules, but rather referring to the website, uh, it does provide, it still makes it clear, but it also provides flexibility. So right now, our office lobby closes at 4 o'clock. In the event that we were to extend our office hours to 4:30, by having our rules worded in the way that they are, we wouldn't have to go through a formal rule change in order to have that information be relevant. So that's just something to take into consideration. We did remove a lot of information in our rules that is governed by statute. So, for instance, um, how much and what the board members are paid, because that is clearly outlined in statute. So, we did not see the need to restate that in our rules. And then the last item under that particular section is before you put them out to the public and distribute them to others, make sure that you've had your legal counsel review them just to make sure that you're on solid footing.
And those are all really important steps that a board needs to take, kind of, internally. So you're doing research, you might have a committee to work on them, you're preparing your documents, you're having reviewed by your legal counsel. But when it's actually when you're set with what you're ready to propose, then as I mentioned, the legislature is going to provide some very clear steps that you need to take in order to update those rules. Because again, the legislature has designated that rulemaking authority to the board. And so therefore, in companion, it's going to give those very clear and transparent steps. So the first thing is you're going to file a notice of your proposed rule change with your county clerk. And from my experience, this is a very clunky process. So I will gather up all my documents. I will print out a copy of RCW 3693-200, and then I will march it across the street and through a tunnel to the King County Courthouse, then go up to the 6th floor and walk up to the clerk's office and try and file my document. But what I find and what I think is a common experience with boards is that clerk's offices are used to filing things for lawsuits, and they're not used to filing these random things in statute. And so I make sure I have a copy of the statute with me. I usually end up have to talk to a manager. It usually takes about 30 to 45 minutes. But at the end of the day, what we end up with is a case number for that year for a non-judicial matter. And I'm able to file that proposal with the clerk. And I'll show you what I end up with, which is I end up with a case number. It's good for 1 year. So anything I have to so this is from 2023. Anything I have to file, so I can update several times in 2023 if we needed to. I can now e-file with our clerk's office with this case number. I also do have to make a $20 payment, so I have to make sure I bring my P card so I can make a payment. But you can see as I file under other, and I need to make sure I have this cover sheet so that I can properly file things. And also, once you've filed it with the clerk, you need to publish notice with your newspaper of record in your county. In King County, that is the Seattle Times. So I need to publish with the Seattle Times, and this is what that looks like. So I send over an email to the Seattle Times legal desk with my text that I have to write for them. And they publish notice that we will be considering updating our rules. And it gives the meeting information for when we're going to undertake that consideration and vote. It gives a link to where folks can find the materials. It gives my contact information in case folks have notice or questions. And then they send me this declaration that they've done the publishing for the Times. This one costs $75, and I keep this in our file for us doing the update. So if anybody has any questions, I can show them that I did do the publishing. I also usually go on the Seattle Times website and check the publishing, and then I can see like, oh, 7 people have viewed this, or that kind of stuff. So that's kind of neat. But that is another step in the process. As Sonia mentioned, posting these things on your website is really important. That's the number one way that folks can access things easily from wherever. But again, in that newspaper publishing, I am giving my name and my contact information in case folks need it in another matter. They need an accessible copy. They needed large print. If they needed something translated, those are certainly things that we would be happy to do and accommodate folks if they contact us. And then also notifying other county departments and jurisdictions that you're going to update your rules. And then it is to finalizing. Which real quick. Sorry again, I wish I had just maybe one more screen. Yes, and now Sonia's going to talk about finalizing.
So obviously your board is going to discuss them at a meeting, and if they adopt them, then you again would need to take your finalized signed version and file it with the county clerk's office, distribute it to other county departments and any other jurisdictions that you work with perhaps on a regular basis, and then post them on your website, which nowadays that's where most people are going to go to look at them. Um, and kind of just in conclusion on the board rules, they really should be a living document. If you wait for 10 years between each update, you may find that they contain a lot of outdated information and things that aren't relevant anymore. Uh, Here in Snohomish County, we just updated ours the board voted on them in October or November, and they were effective January 1st. But here we are a month into the year, and I am already making a list of things that I'd like my board to consider for this next year. So, and if you are updating them on a regular basis, I know that this may seem like a lot of steps to go through, but it's not a big deal. It becomes pretty commonplace and just ensures that they're current and relevant. So,
So
yes. And Allison has a question here. So,
I just had an observation. When I worked for the Snohomish County, I was advised by a senior civil attorney one time when we were writing licensing rules and whatnot. And he made a comment that when you're comparing the rules and procedures from various counties, ask the question at the clerk, has your rules ever been challenged legally? And if so, what was their final ruling? Because once it stands a court assessment, the language itself is pretty solid. So that's a good way to go when you don't have to rewrite everything. So that's just a hint. Now, I don't think rules get challenged very often, but a lot of times if that's been examined, that's a good strong point. The idea that we can always write legalese is not a good point, because if you can adopt something that's stood the challenge, your lawyer is going to support it because it's already got case law on that thing. So that's just an observation.
and that was a good point, Allison, if you have a chance and go back and look at the, after our training today, if you look at the Supreme Court ruling on that we included in the PowerPoint earlier on today, King County is a perfect example of that. They were challenged, and the Supreme Court found that their rules were reasonable and within their authority. So that was a good point that Allison raised.
Cut and paste, I think.
Yeah. Are there any other questions before we move on to board recruitment?
Yeah, this is David Ambleton. Could you go back to the application you initially filed with the county clerk under the proposed rules? And
The slide or
the form. Yeah, I'll slide it along.
I think, Shelby, would that have been a cover sheet that's required by the clerk's office?
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
And so
So that would be something that's specific to King County. So each clerk's office
They,
may have their own version of a cover sheet, but definitely
it's all you had to do is check the bottom line, the two verses and everything. That's something to do with. So that's, you don't have to fill out a plain even, because that's not what we're talking about. You just check the box on the bottom, or do you have to fill something out in that top box? That's my question.
Hold on just a second. So you in King County, in order to file with the clerk, I am required to use a cover sheet.
Yes.
They have blank cover sheets there. So the blank cover sheets, this won't be there. The case number won't be there. But this kind of information will be here. Um, because I know that I need to have a cover sheet when I walk over there, what I bring is this because I won't have the case number yet for the first time because they will give that to me when I make the payment. But I make a note of it and I get a copy of it because for my second filing, I need that number. So I just make sure I bring this cover sheet. And again, they do have blank ones there that you can handwrite in. And that's what I did the very first time because I didn't know what I was doing. Um, so I have it prepared and I bring it with this other already filled in. And then I just handwrite it in the case number or they'll stamp it with their little stamp.
You don't put anything up where in the box with the verses. You don't fill out at all, correct?
No, I put it in a put
That was my question. Great.
Great Harbor has a question.
Yeah, hi guys. This is Bill Messenger, the chair for the Grace Harbor. My question is, you say that there have been challenges in the Supreme Court. Was the gist of the challenge your authority over a certain situation? Is that what the gist of it was?
So I think they were challenging, and correct me if I'm wrong, Fanya, the fact that we had rulemaking authority. And so the statute, so 3693 gives a regulations, and then it gives us rulemaking authority to make reasonable board rules. So that is a narrowing. So we'll say, like Fanya's example, her office is open for the as posted on their website. So what that says is if somebody showed up to her office at 4:45 and her website said she was only open till 4 and they wanted to invoke their jurisdiction and file their $200 check, that if they show up at 4:45 on the last day, they missed their window and too bad. And so I think that someone was challenging the board's authority to make those rules under 3693. And the court says, nope, we given them rulemaking authority to make reasonable rules, and we find these rules to be reasonable.
And I think in the King County case that we referenced for the Supreme Court, from the Supreme Court, I believe in that instance, the parties were challenging the timelines that the board had set out and established within their board rules. And the Supreme Court said, you know, no, we don't disagree, or we disagree with you parties. The King County BRB had absolute authority to do that. That was within their right. So
Thanks.
Any other questions on that section before we move on? Okay, we are going to move to board member recruitment. And I will say this topic is near and dear to my heart because we have vacancies on our board that we need to fill. And I don't think that we're the only ones who are in this boat. And I'm really hoping we're going to present some information, but I'm really hoping we can have a collaborative discussion and come up with some ideas. Because I know I would love to get some new ideas as to how we might recruit board members for our board. I'm going to share my screen again. And before we talk about the recruitment process, I'm going to give a little bit of background on board composition. So the statutes break BRBs into two categories. We have BRBs that are more than 1 million residents and BRBs that are less than 1 million residents. And currently, the only board that has more than 1 million residents in the county is King County. But what I will say is that Pierce County is creeping up to that number. So it's over 900,000. So if Pierce County gets more than 1 million residents, their board will get bigger. So for counties that have less than 1 million residents, it's a 5-member board with 2 folks appointed by the governor, 1 person appointed by the county, 1 person appointed by the mayor, and the special purpose districts get to nominate 1 person to cover all types of special purpose districts. In King County, because we have more than 1 million residents, we have an 11-member board. We have 4 positions that are appointed by the county. How we do that in King County is that the executive nominates those folks to the positions, and then the county council confirms those folks to those positions. We have 4 folks who are appointed by the mayors of King County. And how that works in King County is that the city of Seattle actually does an election process where they reach out to all the mayors. We have 39 cities in King County. And each mayor gets the opportunity to suggest a name, and then they vote. We have 2 positions that are nominated by the Washington Water and Sewer Association, and then we have 1 person that is nominated by our fire commissioners. And when we say nominated, what we mean is that those entities, the special purpose districts, nominate folks for those positions, but our nominating committee actually interviews all of those folks for the special purpose district positions, and then we'll recommend candidates to our full board, and then the full board actually votes to say who is in those positions. Mhm.
So for the actual recruitment process itself, when you do have a vacancy or you know that you will be having one, if you're able to write a press release, that's very helpful. If your county happens to have a public relations office, and I don't mean within the BRB because I don't think that any of us do, but here in Snohomish County, our county executive's office does have a PRO, and that person has always been available to us to help. So ask them if they'll help you with writing a press release if you don't know how to do that or don't have a sample. Post a notice on your website. You may even choose to publish in the newspaper. I know here in Snohomish County, it's also been word of mouth. Just asking our board members if they know of anyone. And just like with board rules, each county may do this a little bit differently. And I would also say start early. I know here in Snohomish County, we have a 5-person board, but right now we have 2 vacancies. Terms were up at the end of last month, January 31st. I started working on them in early December, and it's been an interesting process because our 2 positions are a mayor's appointment and also a governor's office appointment. And so it's been a little bit of a challenge ensuring that both of those offices or groups of people understand what the qualifications and requirements are for a board member. So for instance, knowing that they cannot be a county or city official within your county. That's just one example. And I know Shelby has a vacancy that she's been waiting on since last August. So, Allison.
Yeah. Shelby, can you guys discuss when you're looking for qualified individuals, what are the key background information that those individuals should have? What kind of occupation had they worked in, whether they dealt with rules, that they served on other boards. That would help people when they're recruiting. Because if you just call anybody in the neighborhood, you're not going to get qualified individuals. They may have a fancy title or run a business, but if they don't understand uh, planning, regulations and whatnot, you may get a person that's not as effective when the board's trying to make a decision. So I thought maybe you could add something that help the rest of the members when they're thinking, what are the kinds of subject matter or experience matter that is good to have.
So I'm gonna take a little bit of a different perspective on that, Allison, and I'm gonna say that there's only one thing that I'm really would say is this is not going to work, and that is what is prescribed by statute. So I'm gonna put this in the chat, and I'm gonna share it really quickly on the screen. So no appointee may be an official or employee of the county or a governmental unit in the county or a consultant or advisor on a contractual or regularly retained basis of the county, any governmental unit in the county, or any agency or association thereof. So you can't work for the county or a governmental unit in the county. You can't be a contractor of a governmental unit of the county. But other than that, I would say anybody could make a great board member. I will defer to some of our other King County folks who I think have had more experience with it, but I know we've had folks who've been teachers, we've had folks who've been airport baggage handlers. We've had folks that have had a variety of professional experience, and as long as you're willing to learn, willing to listen, willing to put in the work, I think a lot of experience could be really helpful on a board. I would even add, folks who might be students, folks who might be, maybe they're taking a break from their professional career to raise kids. I really appreciate anybody who is willing to take their time, and I'll turn it over to other folks to see what ideas and thoughts they have. But I am looking personally to increase the diversity of our boards, and I want folks with different backgrounds and different life experience. And I see Jay has his hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna make a comment. I totally agree with you. And the nominating committee, we do have a set of questions that we ask people once we have someone that's interested. And I was just looking at those questions. So it's like we just don't take someone blindly. But we say that one of the questions is, tell us how you became interested in serving as a member. Please tell us about your professional experience and the ways that experience has prepared you for this position. Tell us about any similar service to public boards. How does this position fit with your goals and career? And then we just say, we conduct regular meetings. Can you attend those meetings? So we do have some general questions that we ask, but otherwise, like Shelby says, I mean, it's nice to have people from lots of different experience. I'm a software consultant, so I do have a degree in urban planning, but I didn't really work in the planning field at all in my career. So it's nice to have lots of different people bringing different ideas to the table. Anyway, that's my comment.
Lethal.
Hey, Shelby. I could share with you what we're going to attempt. We have two vacancies now. We just had a mayor's member depart at the end of January, and one of the strategies that we're going to do, kind of deploy at this moment, is rely on our executive director to bring it up at the small mayors meeting, which happens to be the meeting that all the mayors attend. You know, it's a small mayors quote unquote, but it's actually all the mayors there in Whatcom County attend. So he's going to bring it up at that meeting. And so I don't know, I mean, perhaps the strategy could be to know where these folks are, where you can get like the mayors together or the special purpose districts. That's a challenging one for us. We've had a couple of prospects come up, but just hasn't come through. But try to find those like gathering points, and try to see if we can't somewhat infiltrate there and get a little minute to make a pitch. But here at Wacom, I was looking at the boards and commissions page, and there's a lot of vacancies for lots of various boards. So it's competitive and it's difficult, to find the volunteers to come in. But that's kind of strategy we're going to deploy here, and I'll let you know if it works.
Thank you. Any other thoughts, ideas? Steven?
Yeah, I just had a question about the transition from a 5-member board to 11 members based on reaching a million population. In addition to Pierce County, over the next 3 to 5 years, the state's projections show they'll move into that category. And Snohomish County is not far behind, probably within 10 years, according to the state's population projections. So is that a mandatory change that those two boards would have to go from 5 to 11, or is it optional? Do you know?
I believe it's mandatory. Yeah, so there's two sections of the statute. It 3693-051 says the boundary review board in each county with a population of 1 million or more shall consist of 11 members, and shows it as follows. So it's definitely a shall and not a may statute.
That's a that's a pretty that's a pretty ambitious expansion of the recruitment that'll be needed.
Yeah, you should ask Rob about that at Pierce County. They've had trouble just getting the 5, right? So yeah, expanding that's going to be difficult.
This is Dave in Snohomish County up here. I think another pool of candidates you might look at would be planning commission members or former planning commission members, because they understand the Growth Management Act, and I think they've got they're non-professionals, and they do have a experience base that might be very helpful.
And at King County, we definitely have former planning commissioners like Jay who do a great job. I will say it is our understanding of the statute in King County that current planning commission members in the county of the BRB are not eligible for board membership.
That's why I said retired planning commissioners. I thought I'd be the case, Joey. Thank you.
But definitely have appreciated Jay's former planning commission experience, as well as other folks who have been involved in other related groups. I know folks on our side, we try to share resources. And so we try to share like email addresses of folks in the governor's office with each other, of who to contact. We try to keep information like that as far as the clerks, and help pitch in. My thought is I'd like to see more of that, because if we're all doing the same thing, we can probably save ourselves some time and heartache if we work together and continue to share those resources. I've had some great experiences working with the Water and Sewer Association for the state of finding candidates, but I know that they also struggle with finding folks who are not currently working or not currently consulting that would be able to serve. So I think unless we have more questions on that topic, because we're running a little behind. Nicholas.
Hey, sorry, I was putting it in the chat and then realized I should just say it. So I agree that someone willing to learn and interested in serving the community is really what we should be looking for. And I think that there's a lot of angst across the region due to the current political climate. And I think that energy can be turned into volunteering on your local boards and commissions. And I wondered, Sonia and Shelby, if you have any access or support from the county's communications department or other clerks to be able to help put out like social media posts that lean into the volunteering for your community you know, I just think that we have to be broad with our recruitment, and especially in the digital age.
So I have set up, I have worked with our county social media manager to get oriented to our social media policy, um, our who does what. If I want to set up social media for the board, I am able to do that. We have not done that because I know from my past experience as being a public records officer for the county, social media has a lot of responsibilities. It's very powerful, but it has a lot of responsibilities on the government side, as far as records retention and comments and things like that. So, definitely a big tool, and I think something there's a lot of opportunity there, but also need to be mindful of our responsibilities as government, how we use it, and how we follow our other procedures. I will say, and I don't know if I'm alone on this, but I have to defer to the executive's office because it's their appointment. So I have to say, would you like me to recruit? Is that something that you're interested in? I'd be happy to do that. But I can't do it just on my own. They have to say, like, yes, that would be great. Please go for it and do a recruit.
And I mean, I'm thinking more on like the King County's Facebook, Instagram, or um, not having our own BRB specific page that you'd have to manage, but just having a couple of organic social media posts that you can come up with the communications department. That's just like, these are open vacancies on all of the boards and commissions. And do you want to get more involved in your community right now? This is the perfect way. A couple of posts, I don't know if that would help, but I think it's a potential.
Great idea. Thank you for sharing that, Nicholas. I agree with that. I see we're having some good chat in the chat of folks who are in like places of needing to recruit. Um, I will say I told folks that I would start them on time and get them out on time. So we are going to move on to our tools and resources section. But I really just want to thank everybody for their thoughts and great ideas. And I'm sure these are topics that we will continue to talk about. Allison, I think you are up for tools and resources, and I'm going to bring up the website like you asked, just very in one moment. So if you want to go ahead and start.
Shelby, can you pull up the association website front page that lists the education button?
That's where she's trying to get to it.
Okay.
Hold on. There we are.
Okay, I'm just going to ask those that are attending our mini Zoom session, how many of you have actually gone to the association website, actually looked at our educational materials? And it's not a criticism if you haven't, but a lot of our training material is physically there. And if you haven't, go ahead and look at it because it might answer some of the questions you may have. The other part is that if there's something missing, that's what Dave and I are looking for is what are we missing in terms of training tools? And the only way we can develop tools is to find out where the holes are. And so each of you have an experience. You're welcome. Both Dave and my conference files are on the website with my telephone number and email address, and Shelby can post that. You're welcome to drop me a note and we can have a conversation and try to add that to our work list. But we can't write things unless we know there's a need for something. So the other part is that we do have some training materials. It's just a general guide. It's also useful for brand new board members who hadn't been to a hearing to kind of walk through the hearing process, on paper to see what's required. So these are some of the things that we've collaborated together with the association and with staff. And they're some basic training tools. They're just a process to help new members get comfortable when you're sitting at the table, because you don't want to try to make decisions the first time you're in the public hearing. You want to know what the process is, and there's some general guidelines that help board chairs run a good meeting. And it also reinforces the fact that the board chair, and the clerk are a team together. They have to work together during the hearing process. So those are just some tools that are available. Dave and I are looking for things that are missing or things that we should maybe update. And I'll leave it up to you folks individually to let us know if you have an idea or something. Again, great. Any comments?
Thank you, Allison. So I want to just put a shout out to Jay for putting together this website and making it so easy to navigate. As Allison said, there's a lot of great resources on this website. If you haven't checked it out, it is definitely worth your time. And again, it's just on our WSABRB website. And right on the main page, there's a big education materials button to help navigate. As we've talked about in other sessions, there's just tons of different materials about on this website. And I will share one thing that we've done as a board. At one of our board meetings, we took time to go through this website as a board, so that all of our board members know what's on the website and different tools, as well as walk through our own website, so that our board members could see what the public was seeing as well as to how to navigate as a member. So I would suggest, if you have time at a board meeting, to go through the website with all of your members. Um, so we have about 7 minutes left. I think we had planned to leave a little more time for this at the end, so that'll be a lessons learned for our next session. Our goal is to do about 3 of these sessions a year. So, open to ideas and for content or for folks who might be willing to present or lead discussions. But wanted to leave a few minutes if there's any hot topics going on around the state that we'd want to chat about. Anybody got anything exciting going on or any burning questions or things that you all want to share?
Shelby, would you do me a favor? There's 2 individuals, whoever's the long range administration and Lisa, I don't know which county or they're associated with. If they could tell us, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, this is their quote from Pierce County. I wasn't able to change my name, so I just left it. But yeah,
Lisa's on the spring average.
Well, we're having a little bit hard time hearing the first person, but I heard that they're here from Pierce County.
Oh,
So thank you for chiming in there. And
sorry about that. My mic was a little far away. Yes, I was just saying that my name is Sarah Quo. I'm from Pierce County, and I help Danica Williams. You might be familiar with her with our Pierce County Battery Review Board.
wonderful. Welcome. Thank you. And then Lisa is from Chelan County. She is the clerk over there. And welcome, Lisa.
Hi there. I missed the beginning of that. I'm sorry. Did you want me to introduce myself as a clerk?
I think yes. I think I sent out a list of folks to Allison earlier. So.
Oh, good. Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Um, so I will say for hot topics for King County, recruitment has been number 1 on our mind. And we spent a good amount of time talking about that. And also a group of us yesterday went down to Olympia and we met with a variety of legislators about boundary review boards. I know we'll talk about that later on in the year, but just want to draw folks' attention to House Bill 1304 this year. which would clarify intake deadlines for boundary review boards regarding when we intake an NOI and how many days we have to do that. So just a heads up, the state association is supporting House Bill 1304. We have sent letter of support, and Chandler Felt, our legislative committee chair, testified in front of the legislature in support. And the bill has passed the local government committee in the House and is now with the Rules Committee over there. So we'll continue to track that as it moves forward. And just a heads up for folks who are clerks, it is our plan that if the bill goes to the Senate, that we will convene a little chat session with the clerks to look at the bill and see if we have any more concerns or if we're still just in support or if there's any other feedback that we would like to provide to the Senate should it make its way over there. So just want to give folks a heads up about that.
So Shelby, are there statute timelines established now and this is changing them?
It is no timelines currently. So there yeah. So there's no date how many days a clerk has to intake an NOI currently. And this would give a clerk 30 days, but also provide a method of going back to a filer if there were problems to say this is not complete. But I know that folks still have some concerns and we want to make sure that those concerns are heard. And that we have a chance to provide feedback again should the bill move through the process over to the Senate.
Thank you.
Did you say it's the new bill is asking for clerks to have 30 days to file?
So the new bill, I will say I get kind of dyslexic with the bill number. So 1304. It provides that once the NOI is filed with a clerk, the clerk then has 30 days to deem the NOI complete or return it, is what the new bill says. Currently, there is no certain number of days that a clerk has to determine an NOI to be complete. So this would give us a 30-day timeline. And I will post the bill link in the chat.
Yeah, good. That's interesting.
Yeah. So it is in the chat currently. Again, I really want to just say thank you to everybody for joining, and I want to turn it over to the education committee folks to see if they have any closing thoughts.
Well, Shelby, the only comment I have on the bill is if there's only 30 days, there should be a period where the process can be paused so that the clerks can get the city to correct the errors in the NOI and then restart the clock at that point in time to get to the 30 days. Otherwise, there could be all kinds of delays intentionally that make it difficult and puts the clerk in an awkward situation to having to either deny it or to approve it. Am I interpreting this correctly or not?
I think that so this is a bill that came up last year, and the state we proposed an amendment to language that we were more comfortable with, and I want to thank Presta Pinkston from Lewis County who drafted that language, working with the legislative committee. So the legislature took what we asked for an amendment, and that is the current language of the bill, basically. So we pretty much got what we asked for from last year, but I really do think it would be worth our time as clerk, should it go to the Senate, to have a talk session and go through this line by line and say, okay, what did we not think of? Are we okay with this? Can we live with this? Or do we want to go back and ask the Senate Local Government Committee for additional amendments? I think if it passes the House, it's going to pass in its current version as it is already at the Rules Committee.
Yeah, just a point here. The legislative committee wants us to pass this year if we can. And the other problem is if we start making changes this late in this bill, it's not going to look good for our legislative committee and our people that would go down to Olympia. And we've taken the posture, if this goes through today or this session, we can always amend things next time around. So we need to get the bill there. We need to get the 30 days, and then we can always amend things once it becomes law.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I just want to say thank you to everybody. And I want to say the biggest thank you to the world to Sonia, who has put so much work into this and has really, and huge thank yous to Allison and Dave too, because they've put in a lot of work and time also. But Sonia put the PowerPoint together, and I've been running around Olympia for the last 2 days, and she has really carried the water. So thank you, Sonia.
Give us something to work on.
So thanks everybody. And we will again we'll be doing more of these over the year. I'll be working on a little feedback form that I'll send out on Google so that you can tell me what you thought went well and what didn't. I know we didn't get to the full agenda, but again, it's really important to me that I value your time and that we stick to the start and the end date. So thank you.
Thanks, Shelby.
Big-
Appreciate it.
Hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you. Good work, Shelby.